Welcome back, everyone, to the CompetitionPlus.com audio magazine. I'm Joe Castello, and this is a special Memorial Day edition. And joining us today, from Bill Miller Engineering, Bill Miller. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Memorial Day is a huge holiday in the United States of America, a day where we can all pay our respects to those who have given the ultimate sacrifice for our country. You have always been a very proud American and very unafraid to show it. Why are you so patriotic in your advertisements?
Well, you know, because the generation that is surrounding us now hasn't had the opportunity to recognize the greatness of what they call the greatest generation, which is, of course, World War II, and not to say anything less about the Korean War and the Vietnam War and all the wars around the world. But, you know, about 5 years ago, I had an opportunity to fly to France, and I, of course, had to visit Normandy, and I stood on the cliffs of Normandy looking out over the English Channel and looked down on the beaches of Normandy and just thought to my mind, you know, like, wow, all these kids, 18, 20, 25 years old, coming across that English Channel and invading the shores of France to free the Europeans from the tyranny of the Nazis and the sacrifices they made. I mean, you could not stand on that cliff without crying. You couldn't do it. And, of course, later on that afternoon, we went and visited the cemetery at Normandy, and you look around and you realize that in that cemetery at Normandy, all those gravestones face west towards the United States. And, of course, the cemetery at Normandy is sacred ground. It's United States territory, ceded from the French to the United States. And if we don't, as a society today, recognize the greatness of the sacrifice that's gone down in an effort to maintain what is, without question, the single most important experiment in the history of mankind, and that is the United States of America. And were it not for the United States of America, I hesitate to say what language we'd be speaking now. So in an effort to make sure that it's a continuing thing and that people don't forget, I've always felt the best way to do it is to obviously speak with my wallet as much as my mouth. And, you know, God knows people know I talk a lot, but putting it out there and advertising, it just says, okay, let's stand up, let's be proud of where we're at, and let's make sure everybody else knows it too.
And this is not just an opinion you hold. You yourself have served in the United States Navy during Vietnam.
That's correct. I was in the submarine service for approximately 4 of those 6 years that I was in the service, and 2 of those years I spent in what they call the Gator Navy, which is the amphibious assault Navy, and we made the first amphibious assault at Chulai, dropping Marines off. And back then I was pretty young. I was in my middle 20s and didn't really have a concept of what's going on and the greatness of the sacrifice that the guys were making. So maybe a little late, but I figure it's my job to make sure that everybody's aware of the greatness of the men and women that have sacrificed for this country.
We've actually had some major occurrences right on this front recently. What were your thoughts about the raid into Pakistan to kill Osama bin Laden?
Well, the Osama bin Laden deal, of course, was started by George Bush with all of the SEALs and all that, and it's a great thing. I mean, it's up to the United States, unfortunately, to be the policeman of the world, and even if Pakistan wants to play both sides of the fence, which is getting money from us and getting money from China, that's their prerogative, but of course it allows them to be opened up to whatever we think is necessary for the protection and salvation of this country.
Actually, in the past, you have always run some nice piece of artwork on the wing of your race cars. Troy Buff out there running in top fuel. Are you planning to do something in the future to honor the Navy SEALs?
Not necessarily the Navy SEALs, you know, the armed forces in general. I mean, the last ad we ran, which I think Bobby has up on his website now, about no one should ever apologize for our country, takes all 5 branches of the services into effect. They each have their own individual role to play, and you can't say that one's more important than the other.
Now, you've taken this passion for the United States, and we will call that patriotism, something that we find a lot in racing fans, motorsports in general, drag racing in general, and I really believe that's connected to the fact that these sports were born out of the return of the greatest generation with all their newfound technical skills that they had learned while in service fighting World War II. They had all this knowledge. They came back and they basically put it to work. That's how drag racing was really born. Now, you've taken a lot of this passion and you have channeled it into politics recently. You've brought dignitaries to the race and using your passion to expose drag racing to people that maybe have never seen it before and also to pursue your own political views.
Well, interestingly enough, when I moved to Carson City, Nevada, I was put in contact with a young man named Dean Heller, who at the time was the Secretary of State, I think, for the state of Nevada. He went on to become a congressman in the 2nd District in the state of Nevada. And now, through the resignation of Senator Henson for all of his improprieties, we have now had Senator Dean Heller up there now as opposed to Congressman Dean Heller. So now I find myself good friends with one of the 100 senators from those, from the United States. And I just find it interesting that all this is kind of given us direction and gone down that road because Dean, believe it or not, loves race cars. He's a race car driver himself. He plays with his little NASCAR car. He's got a car that's probably 10 years old or so, and he road races it and drives it in competition. So don't know if he's going to do that anymore now that he's a senator. He could get away with it as a congressman, but bringing him out to the races is a good thing because he recognizes what we do out here and how involved all of the participants are and all the spectators are from the standpoint of being good fiscally conservative people. So it's worked out pretty well. I'm actually quite pleased with all the contacts we've made.
And Bill, finally, what does Memorial Day and being an American mean to you?
Now you're going to make me tear up. It means everything. It means everything. If we do not sit back and recognize the sacrifices that have been made in order for us to do the things that we do, to create the greatest nation the world's ever seen, we have nothing left. We'll be out of here. In another 20 years, there will be no great nation, and our children and grandchildren will suffer tremendously. So it's sad, but it's necessary for men and women to sacrifice and give the ultimate for the country. It's just we'll never get around that, I don't think.
Bill, I want to thank you for taking some time out today and having this conversation with us on the CompetitionPlus.com audio magazine. I appreciate it, and very much so enjoy your Memorial Day.
Well, you too, and I appreciate it, and like they say, God bless America.